Um, all right. Do you want to go ahead and just ask your question again? That way we can get everything.
All right. Tell me about your no, in my squeaky chair, your racing history. So you started young in dirt.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
well, no,
So
asphalt. You started asphalt first.
yeah, it's a bit of an unusual career path. Most kids a lot of kids can relate to it in some aspects, but as far as the whole branch there, it's definitely unique. My dad grew up. It's more of a family thing for me. My dad grew up on the track when he was a kid, and then owning and working on cars in the '80s. And I was like young. I'd go to the track with him. He'd have to find somebody to babysit me in the grandstands. It seemed most of the time. And then when I was 7, 8 years old, we decided to get me a go kart, and these are like 2.5, 3.5 horsepower go karts just for kids. It's like a kid class, so we're going 35, 45 miles an hour tops, which sounds fast for like an 8-year-old kid, but
Uh-huh.
don't worry, it was perfectly safe. Um, and so we did that for a couple of years, and then when I was 12 years old, we decided, hey, we're gonna move up a little bit, and they had some kid teenager classes like front wheel drive classes, stuff like
Yeah.
that. But we're gonna go big. We're gonna go racing stock cars. So we got a 1977 Ford Thunderbird and ran it with the street stock Roadrunner class, which is basically like old like it's 110-inch wheelbase, like V8, like the old Buick, old Monte Carlos, old Camaros, Thunderbird, stuff like that. So I'm out here, 12, 13 years old racing against guys that are 30, 40, 50 years old. Some of them are even in their 60s, and these guys have decades of experience. So I got a lot of good experience then, learning how to race around a bull ring, because I mean this track is a flat fifth mile, no bank, and you got to learn how to pass and learn how to drive. So I got a lot of good experience there. And then when we were about 14 or 15 years old, we ran some outlaw figure eight stuff, which is big out here in the Midwest, and Michigan, unknown, Indiana, Flat Rock, Toledo, Speedrome, a lot of figure eight tracks around here. And we also decided to make the move to dirt. And we wanted to go late model racing. We weren't sure we wanted to go asphalt late model or dirt late model. And we kind of levied the options, and we decided we could be more competitive for less on dirt. And also a big part of that was CJ Rayburn, who's kind of known as the pioneer of dirt late models. He was one of the first big chassis builders back in the 70s even. Um, he'd been around and he dominated dirt for decades throughout the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s and through the 2010s a little bit. His shop was only 5 or 6 minutes from my house, and so I actually interned for a couple months. It was unpaid, but I was paid in knowledge at his shop. And so that's where we've been the past couple 5 or 6 years now. Is racing primary dirt lane models everywhere. And then we ran some Daytona. Ran some Talladega. We'll get to that here in a little bit, I'm sure. And the Arkham Menard series, and made my truck debut at Knoxville last year, which is really really cool. And then this past weekend, I actually made our asphalt late model debut, which is kind of funny because like 5 years ago we were going to go that route, and we kind of changed everything and went dirt racing. So everything's kind of come full circle. We went to Daytona, then we went asphalt late model racing. Normally it's the other way around.
Yeah, normally it is the other way around. So I still love hearing your backstory again. But but the story I love is how you got involved with Willie and Dinah. So for ARCA. So let us
Mhm.
know about that again.
Yeah, that was a bit of a I don't want to say fluke, but it's a bit of a Cinderella story for sure. Uh, my dad came in my room. It was December of 2021. Yeah, December 2021. I'm home from college. I just got up my first ever semester of mechanical engineering at the University of Indianapolis, and we were home with Christmas break. This is like early December, or late December, like December 22nd, 23rd, a couple days before Christmas. And we're sitting here. I'm in bed, and my dad comes in the room to wake me up to go to work. It's like 10 in the morning. He's like, "Hey, kiddo, what do you think about running Daytona? The ARCA Daytona test in January?" I'm like, "Oh, it'd be cool." I don't really know anybody, and he doesn't know anybody either, really. I mean, it'd be neat. He goes, "Well, see what he can figure out." And I knew of Dinah and Big Willie through TikTok. I followed them. I've kind of interacted with them. I've never really talked to them. I like their stuff. They had no idea who I was, that type of thing. I was a fanboy basically. And I'm like, I know these people from TikTok. They don't know me. I'll shoot them an email. And so I'm like, hey, I'm this dirt late model figure eight guy from Indiana. Can I come drive a car at Daytona? And basically, they're like, yeah, sure, come on down. Turns them out, so now. And the rest is kind of history. I mean, we went down there. I think we were like 15th or 16th in the test in January of 2022, and we made my debut that next month in February. During Speed Week, Arkham Menards platform, and got 13th, which was awesome debut, and had a really clean car. Got a lot of awesome experience. Went to Talladega, like, all right, let's run it back. And unfortunately, I got good experience, except it was experience of being in the big one, which that's part
Oh,
of super speedway racing.
yeah.
More likely than not, they're gonna come out with a torn up race car. Lucky it wasn't that bad. I just had a car fly over me at 180 miles an hour, not a big deal or anything.
Yeah, no big deal.
And yeah, so that was a pretty Cinderella story, kind of how that whole got put together. It was definitely a unique era and part of my career that I never thought would happen. But it was just so surreal sitting there having to take everything in, like driving through the tunnel for the first time. And
Oh,
for anyone who hasn't been to Daytona, they have like when you go to the infield, they have murals all over the tunnels. And from like the 20, I want to say 18, the trucks and Denham, they finished where they're side by side. And I know they got Dale sliding through the grass and have all these different murals, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And just a monumental and historic track, not only for NASCAR but for motorsports as a whole.
mm.
So it's like, wow, I'm on the same track that a lot of people I look up to have raced on. And I'm a huge Jimmy Johnson guy. And this past year, he was there. I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
That's cool. Then did that ARCA ride lead to your truck ride, or that just you're like, why not? Let's go
It
for it.
well, kind of. It was a bit of a random, like I said, another Cinderella story. So I made a lot of friends and relationships through my time in the Arkham and Arts platform, and one of those people I've become friends with was Brad Perez. Everyone knows Brad. He's very big on Twitter, and he's also a driver himself. He does a lot of road course stuff, from trucks and Xfinity. It's actually running at Coda this upcoming weekend with Emerling Gaze, but he was down at that test of the Mullins. And I had no idea who he was. I had no idea who anybody in the garage was. No idea. And I kind of get introduced to Brad. Hey, this is Brad. He's a tire guy at the time for, I think, for Rattler War he was. He's a tire guy, but there's a lot of cool stuff around the garage. He's a big road course guy. And so I've met and became friends and whatnot. And then a couple weeks after Daytona, at Sonoma, I believe, he made his. It was Sonoma or it was Coda. It was one of the two. He made his truck debut with Ram Brothers. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't really know who Ram Brothers were. I kind of went looking into them. And, we had the Knoxville truck race in June, I believe. It was like the end of June, middle of June, somewhere around there. And so Talladega, kind of around Talladega time, my dad goes, hey, it'd be really cool when we're on the truck race. I'm like, Dad, that's the truck series. Get like, I don't know what you're smoking, but that's the good stuff. I'm like, that's way above our league. I never thought you'd run the ARCA, let on the truck series. And once again, it was kind of like almost like the same, hey, see what you can find out. And Brad, I knew of Brad. I was friends with Brad, and I knew of the Ram brothers through him, and so we got put in contact with the right people. And with my dirt experience, we're like, hey, I drive dirt cars. Knoxville, maybe see the connection here. And we went out and we started 31st, which we were the last car to qualify in or race our way in. No provisional needed. I like saying that because
Nice.
a lot of people kind of look at that team as, oh, they're only getting on provisional. I said, well, I actually raced my way in. I sent Norm Benning home, which sucks because Norm Benning's a big inspiration of mine. I know it
Yeah, I
seems terrible.
imagine.
It was either he beat me and I went home, or I beat him and he went home. And
Gotta do what
tough
you
luck,
gotta do.
Norm. Tough luck. And we got 27th, like I said, which what sounds terrible. It was actually that team's best finish outside of a super speedway and outside of a road course, I believe. Or one, it was like one of their top three finishes throughout the whole season. So they were very proud of that. And the car, I mean, not a scratch on it. They could just go home, power wash it, and race it the next day. So it was a pretty solid debut. Like I said, I never thought I'd get to race even the ARCA platform, let alone in the truck series, which that whole experience is so surreal. Especially in Knoxville too, such a historic track as well for dirt
Yes.
racing, especially out there in Iowa, sprint car country, Casey's country, the general store. I love me some Casey's pizza, so we didn't mind that.
Alrighty. So then, which is amazing in itself that you went and found those rides. That's really cool. We've had some good interactions with Brad too. Just my son knows him from Twitter, and we happened to run across him at a truck race, and we're like, "Hey!" And he would, yeah. So he was really nice. But then I don't want to say take a step backwards, because short track racing and late model racing has had a huge resurgence lately in the last several years. And you jumped into that this past weekend, which is awesome. That's my world. So tell me how that came about and how your weekend went.
Yeah, so kind of like we said, we're not going to step back. We're kind of going to step back. Eddie Van Meter, who's out of Indianapolis, him and my dad raced against each other back in the figure eight days decades ago. Or actually, Eddie Van Meter drove on my dad's figure eight cars back in the day too. So it's a family connection, and me and his son have raced against each other throughout the years, kind of back in the go karts almost. And we've kind of been friends, and we go spend Thanksgiving together. We go out to eat a bunch throughout the week. We've been family friends for years, and we kind of brought up jokingly about wanting to run a late model. And like, oh well, they have a really good relationship with Van Dorn Racing, up there in Michigan, and he has a ton of late models, and they work with him very closely and have a bunch of his cars and a bunch of his stuff. Butch Van Dorn's down there at the track every weekend with them whenever they're running late model stuff. And she's like, hey, we kind of have this race coming up in the Rattler of the 250. It's a bit of a guts you want to make a debut with, but if you want to come make your debut, just buy tires and buy fuel and pay for anything you break, and you'll be good. I'm like, you guys know I've never actually driven an asphalt late model, right? And I drove in a CRA sportsman race back in 2019, but that was like we were driving a street stock basically against
Yep.
late models. It didn't go so well. But I'm like, I've never actually been in the asphalt late model. I'm like, oh, you'll do great. And so we went down there, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'm not gonna lie. Like first lap out, I was like a second half off the pace. I'm like, guys, I'm out here trying to drive it like a dirt car. I'm burning the right rear off. They're like, all right, don't do that. So we had probably 200 practice laps throughout Thursday, Friday, and Saturday going into qualifying. And we were only, I think, 5 or 6 tenths off quick time in qualifying, which is awesome. And throughout practice, we got it down to like only 4 tenths off quick time in practice. And so I'm like, oh, we're getting it. And if I had probably another 800 laps, I think it would have been good. Unfortunately, I'm not like time adjusting of those guys. I'm not a robot when it comes to those late models. I don't have a gazillion laps. And like I said, I was only 6 tenths off quick time. We qualified dead last, which shows how tight that field was.
Yeah.
And I botched qualifying too. I probably had another tenth and a half in me. But I'm like, I'm going to send it, and I sent it a little too hard. And it was a good experience, a lot of learning throughout the whole weekend, a lot of good seat time. Then going in the race, we did like, a couple 15, 20, 25 lap practice runs, and I'd come in exhausted. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do 250 laps on Sunday. I'm like, you guys better get a piece of pizza ready or something for the halfway break. I'm going to be dead. And green flag drops, and immediately I start dive bombing people, trying to pass. I'm like, okay, we're actually kind of good at this. We're kind of saucy with it. And we made up quite a few grounds. We were running, I think, like in the mid 20s there for a while. And it's like lap 20 or 30 or so. They used to come around to lap us. I'm like, all right, I'm going to hold the bottom, give him tons of room. And I think it was Mondike. And he's come around my outside. I barely see his nose. And I don't know if I drifted up, if he went down. All I know is I was like pretty much in the grass, but made some contact. And I went for a little spinny spin. And I'm like, well, that's a little awkward. Because first ever late model race for the first caution of the race, and we about wrecked the leader. I'm like, Twitter is probably blowing up calling from my head right now. But we rebounded nicely from that. We ended up finishing 16th. I mean, not a scratch on it. Only one lap down by the time it was all said and done. And we were actually pretty competitive. We were like actually passing cars throughout the whole race. And Me and a couple guys just going back and forth, throwing haymakers, throwing sliders on one another for like 20 seconds. But I had a great time. It was a real fun experience. I got a lot of good seat time. It was probably the most fun I've ever had driving a car in the past couple of years, I'd say.
Good. That's good to hear. I love hearing that. 'Cause like I said, those are the cars that I know. So did you have more of a holy cow, I'm here experience in ARCA and truck and the people you raced against there? Or again, like I said, my late track drivers with the time Majeski, probably bad example there, but Bubba Pollard, Nasty, I don't think was there. But yeah. So yeah,
But,
you
but
had a couple
it was a pretty good
stout drivers there.
weekend. Obviously I don't really know anybody. I know Ty from like or from the racing too closely, but I know the names. I know Bubba Pollard, and Jesse Love was there. I know him from ARCA,
Yep.
and Jake Finch was there. I knew him,
Yep.
from ARCA and other stuff throughout. And I quickly learned, that these cars do this guy, who cheats, who doesn't cheat, who gets by tech a little bit easier, who the one tech guy is that everybody hates. I shouldn't say that, but I quickly learned about throughout the whole late model road, and I wasn't I wouldn't say in awe, but it was a lot more fun experience learning everybody and how everybody operated. Um, oh, that guy's running two ignition boxes. That guy probably has traction control. They just can't find it. Stuff like that. So it was a really fun weekend. Learning learning all about that.
I could guess who those would be, but I'm not going to.
I'm not gonna name names, but yeah.
No, don't. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. So then let's go on to our 13 questions that, are not a surprise to you anymore. But first one, what advice do you have for new drivers?
So this is a good one, and that's staying persistent and staying patient. You'll hit a lot of bumps in the road throughout your career, a lot of ups and downs. You'll have to sacrifice a lot. Show the people around, and you will more than likely not have time for birthday parties. You will not have time to go to prom
No.
or high school football games, or even high school parties. Or I mean, I didn't go to a single high school football game my entire high school career because I was only working on a race car. There's a lot of bumps and downs and or ups and downs and bumps in the road. And, you wouldn't appreciate the top of the mountain though if you there weren't for the valleys. So stick with it. It gets better eventually. I hope. Fingers crossed. Most of the time, I hear people like, "Man, I was ready to quit," and there's so many points where you just want to throw in the towel. And going out there at the end on the weekend and having a good run, or even a top 5 or top 10, or even getting a win, just makes it feel so much more rewarding.
Excellent. Yeah, and those are hard to come by, so most definitely. Alrighty. Do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions?
I like listening to music. I'm a big Taylor Swift person. That sounds terrible, but I'll throw on some T Swift, stuff like that. It's kind of go through. I'll talk with the team, and hey guys, thanks for everything this weekend. If I bring the thing back as like a box of scrap, want you to know I appreciate everything we've done to get to this point. It's been awesome, and I also think I'm after the race if I don't bring it back as like a bundle of scrap metal.
Alrighty. How do you prepare mentally for a race?
It's definitely a big mental game racing, physically and mentally. Uh, as far as like what I talked about like that, just getting in the mood, getting the right attitude. If you go out there like, man, I'm going to suck, I'm going to hit the wall, I'm going to spin out, I'm going to go 4 wide and wreck up a Pollard, then they're probably going to go out there, they're going to suck, they're going to hit the wall, they're going to spin out, they're going to wreck up a Pollard. Don't have that mentality. That's why I always try to tell myself, and don't go out there, hey, I'm gonna have a good run, I'm gonna bring it home in one piece, I'm not gonna junk it. I might tear the right front quarter panel off, but that's good. I'm gonna be it. We're gonna have a good run. So that's the good a mental game I like to play with myself.
I agree. Alrighty. Oh yeah. So what are your goals for yourself and the team this year? You had mentioned last time we talked, you might have some plans in motion, but you weren't ready to talk about them. Still Still in that situation?
Yes. So
All righty.
we a little bit like that. So obviously, just kind of finding success on and off the track. It's been a bit of a hectic year so far, as far as Daytona didn't really go our way. It basically, if it could go wrong, it went wrong at Daytona as far as on track performance wise. It's like
Oh,
I'd go to pick a high lane and the high lane would fall back or something. It was a lot of stupid stuff happened. Um, and so we were gonna run Talladega, obviously with the Mullins, and it's kind of float going around the internet that we are not returning with them. We kind of decided to sit back, take a step back, and kind of look at my career long term wise, and to see where we can make a better effort, I guess, kind of down the road that would benefit me more, in terms of making a possible career in the truck or Xfinity or even the Cup Series one day. So as far as plans are in motion, we got the gears turning. We're just not quite there yet. Ready to announce that. I'd hate to retract something. So we got some stuff on work there, but obviously whether it's in the NASCAR ARCA platform or even the late model scene, plans are probably going to some more late model races, but just when I say success, not necessarily going out there and winning, but going out there have a good top five, good top 10 run, bringing the car home in one piece, not painting a target on my back because those late model guys, a lot of them seem like they'll beat my butt if I wreck them the wrong way. So don't get my butt beat in the pits after a race. That's an all season goal, hopefully.
not a bad goal. Some of them, I think some of them are more bark than bite. But anyway, so and I forgot to mention, but again, as I did last time, plans for the year, we'd still love to see you up here in Van Doren's backyard of Berlin. Just keep that in your mind.
I see what I can do.
All right. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Funny, charismatic. That's a big word right there. And
That is
I don't want to say trailblazer or pioneer, but I almost kind of want to say that because there's not a whole lot of dirt late model figure eight guys that have made it to this level. So we're kind of trying to set that path and set that foundation, I guess, for some of these guys to hopefully try and make it up to this level one day.
that would be awesome to see. I'm looking forward to that. Alrighty. Oh, and this is my favorite though. What makes you smile?
Pizza.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Um, what is your favorite achievement?
Oh man, this is a doozy. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember what I said last time, but it's probably something
I
to do with Daytona. I want to sit back and look at my career and my life stand viewpoint, kind of, I guess, from right now, going and running Daytona, not once but twice, and just kind of making it to that level. Because that was like my first big race ever on like a national scene.
yeah.
Going back and running 13th, might not have been a top 5 or top 10, but it was getting to even a race to compete at that level that I never thought I'd even have the opportunity to. So that right there, going out there, and I got hate. I've been racing for 12, 13 years now. I've gotten hate every single step of the way. I've gotten told many times, "Oh, you're never gonna make it, kid. You're never gonna make it." I'm like, "Ed, you're right. So what? No one expects me to make it." But we went out there and we made it. So that was a pretty special moment for me.
That's awesome. That's a huge achievement. Huge. All right. And I remember your answer to this one though. What do you do in your spare time?
Spare time, watch that.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of times typically, I'm still in college. I'm going to Liberty University to get my degree in business. So whenever I'm not doing that, I'm at work because I'm a broke college student because I'm going to college. Buying pizza, eating pizza. I work on race cars. It's a big thing. I spend a lot of time, building motors and working on dirt cars and stuff like that, or not just on dirt cars, but whatever cars we have in the back. And when I'm not playing with race cars, like during the off season, I have RC cars. I'll still be playing with RC cars, because I love being hands on, with mechanical stuff like that. So I love working on stuff. I love figuring things out and how they work and how to make them work more efficiently.
And I love that. We need more of that in this world. Oh yeah. Who do you look up to we've only got 10 minutes. Who do you look up to in racing and or real life?
My dad's probably a big one there. Because obviously if it wasn't for him, I would have never really made it to this level. And that kind of goes for like both my parents and like my whole family. I got an older brother and a little sister, and basically they've all sacrificed so much kind of behind the scenes, and nobody really realizes how much a family has to sacrifice to go racing. So obviously if it wasn't for them and them like supporting me, kind of being my role models throughout the whole journey so far, I don't think I probably would have made it this far. As far as definitely like an on track role model though, no offense, Daddy, he's over there working, but he really didn't perform too well on the track. But Jimmy Johnson would probably have to be my goat. Just saying.
Nice. Good person there too. Okay, so after you have competed in a race, what would you like people to think about you?
That I'm not a hot-headed teenager, which I'm 20 years old, but people still call me a hot-headed teenager, I guess. Which I've always been known for, that being calm, cool, and collected on and off the track, and I try to hold myself in a very professional manner. And like I was talking, I don't like getting in fights. I've somehow been through 12, 13 years of short track racing. I've never been in a fight. So far I'm doing pretty good. I just don't want to be known as a guy. There's some guys on the track that like, oh, I don't want to get in this guy because he's gonna come down and beat me up if I get in him, if I'm ready to bump him. So I don't want people to go out here and like bad mouth and trash me and this and that. I mean, they can talk about how I run on track performance wise all they want. If it was that easy, then they'd probably be out here doing it themselves. Uh, but yeah, I just don't want people to kind of label me the wrong way.
Excellent. And oh yeah, what is your favorite track food and where is it at?
I love me a good tenderloin. Obviously up here in Indiana, tenderloins get like the huge ones as big as their head. They're good. Brownstown has some pretty cool tenderloins. Brownstown Speedway there in Brownstown, Indiana. Circle City Raceway is another one that has some absolutely phenomenal food. They got some killer tenderloins here on the east side of Indy. Tenderloins pretty much everywhere. A lot of Indiana tracks serve them.
Yeah, I've got to get down there. I did not have one when we were at Anderson, but I think we're going to head back for Redbud this year, so I'll have to have one. Okay, and then was the biggest misconception you think that people have about either drivers or racing?
A lot of people say racing is not a sport. Let me tell you, after the Rattler 250 on Sunday, I felt like I just ran 4 miles at like a 4-minute mile pace, like Olympic pace, because I was exhausted. And I'm probably right now in the best physical shape of my life. I go to the gym 6 times a week. And I mean, I'm there for an hour and I burn about 800 to 1200 calories in one single workout. And it's physically demanding, both mentally and physically. You gotta be in shape. You gotta make sure lap 125 you're not cramping up. You're not, oh, it hurts to turn. You gotta be in shape to go out there and do what some of these guys are doing.
Yeah, I just actually heard a story 10 minutes ago, okay, maybe 40 minutes ago now. An owner had someone in his car and they're like, hey, it was at Chicago, like, you're not doing real well. And they're like, I can't move my arms. So yeah, that's fantastic. Good too. It's so true. All right. And then last one was just for you. And that was, what is your favorite pizza?
So there's no such thing as a bad pizza. Okay, there is, but it's hard to find a bad pizza. I like a very thick style crust, not like a Chicago, but close to Chicago style.
Mhm.
And there's a family owned chain out on the east side of Indianapolis, out in Greenfield, called Mozzie's. It's like a mom and pop type big establishment. They have 3 or 4 restaurants, and it is to die for. They have all different kinds of pizza, but my favorite is there's a classic pepperoni. Just, thick crust, pepperoni, little extra sauce, maybe. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Excellent. thank you. Like it's gonna cut off on me in a minute. So I so appreciate you hopping back on and dealing with my ineptitude with technology. So, and then if you do come up here, we'll get you my favorite pizza. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you one day.
Fingers crossed. We might come up there, Berlin, Flat Rock, who knows, that area. So
Yeah. Kalamazoo, Flat Rock is a little bit south yet. So, all righty. Again, thank you. I appreciate it a ton.
thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.